Yo, what's up? It's Derek. If you live in America right now and you feel like the rules changed overnight, you're not crazy. Groceries cost more, insurance costs more, housing feels like a luxury product. Tech companies are cutting jobs, AI is writing code, essays, emails, and suddenly the stability we were promised feels fragile. And here's what's really eating at people. You did what you were told, go to school, work hard, climb the ladder, buy a house, invest a little, retire someday. And now it feels like the ladder is moving while you're climbing it. So today, we're not doing panic, we're doing positioning. Because every time America goes through a structural shift, there are two groups, those who cling to the old system and those who reposition early. And the gap between them becomes generational. The American middle class is not lazy. It's leveraged in the wrong direction. Mortgage, car payments, student loans, credit cards, subscription lifestyle, and then one paycheck holds the entire structure together. That's not freedom. That's fragility. If one HR email can destabilize your life, you don't have a job problem. You have a leverage problem. And this is where AI feels threatening, because it exposes how dependent most people are on a single income stream. In America, we were raised to believe that stability comes from loyalty to a company. But in 2026, stability comes from ownership. Ownership of assets, ownership of equity, ownership of productive systems. And that shift is uncomfortable. Let me tell you about Jason, 35, mid-level product manager. Good salary, 6 figures, nice apartment in Austin. He did everything right. Maxed 401k match, company stock, career progression. Then layoffs hit. 2 weeks notice, laptop locked, Slack deactivated. And what shook him wasn't the job loss. It was how quickly his identity disappeared. He told me something that stuck. I thought I was secure because I had a good title, but I didn't own anything that paid me back. He had retirement accounts, but no taxable investments, no side equity, no rental property, no ownership mindset. For the first time, he felt exposed. And here's the American psychology piece. In this country, we attach worth to productivity. So when productivity is removed, confidence drops. Jason didn't spiral. He pivoted. He cut lifestyle inflation, started aggressively investing in broad market index funds, picked up fractional business ownership through ETFs, learned how AI could enhance his skill set instead of threaten it. 2 years later, he was making similar income, but now his portfolio was large enough that it generated meaningful annual returns. And his tone changed. He stopped chasing job titles. He started evaluating companies. He told me recently, "I don't feel employed anymore. I feel positioned." That is a different psychological state. Now, let's talk about housing, because this one hits deep in America. Homeownership was a symbol of adulthood. White picket fence, equity, security, but prices ran. Interest rates spiked and younger generations feel locked out. Let me tell you about Marcus, blue-collar electrician in Ohio, solid income, married, 2 kids, watched home prices explode and thought the dream was gone. Instead of giving up, he adjusted strategy. He bought a smaller duplex instead of a single-family dream home, lived in one unit, rented the other. Was it glamorous? No. That his friends joke about it? Absolutely. But 5 years later, that property appreciated. The rent covered most of his mortgage, and he bought another. Now, here's what changed. Marcus used to stress about every expense. After 2 properties, even though he wasn't rich, he felt buffered. And buffered is powerful. When your fixed expenses are partially offset by assets, your anxiety drops. When anxiety drops, you make better decisions. His wife once told him, "You seem calmer about everything lately." That's what ownership does. It doesn't just build net worth, it builds margin, and margin creates psychological stability. There's something uniquely American about self-reliance. We respect builders, we respect entrepreneurs, we respect ownership. But over the last few decades, we drifted into consumption culture. Bigger cars, bigger homes, bigger payments, less ownership, more obligation. And now the pressure is showing. Let me tell you about Chris, warehouse supervisor in North Carolina, never made more than $80,000 a year. Quiet guy, worked overtime, paid bills. He started investing consistently in low-cost index funds at 28. Nothing flashy, no day trading, no crypto gambling, just consistency. 15 years later, his portfolio crossed 7 figures. He still works. But here's the shift. He walks differently. He negotiates differently. He doesn't react emotionally to workday drama because he knows something most people around him don't. He has options. And in America, options are power. Not loud power, quiet power. The ability to say no, the ability to walk, the ability to wait. And that internal security changes everything. It changes posture, tone, standards. And yes, it changes how people perceive you, because confidence backed by ownership feels different than confidence backed by hope. AI is not destroying opportunity. It is compressing average skill value and amplifying high leverage positioning. If you use AI to increase your output, you become more valuable. If you invest in companies that use AI to increase productivity, you benefit from growth. If you ignore it and cling to routine tasks, you get squeezed. America has always rewarded adaptability, from railroads to oil to tech to the internet and now AI. The pattern is the same. Early adopters accumulate, late resistors complain. This is not cynical, it is structural. So where do you stand today? Not emotionally, not motivationally, mathematically. Take your total portfolio value and divide it by your annual contribution and just stare at that number for a second, because that number is brutally honest and it does not care how busy you are, how tired you are, how misunderstood you feel at work, or how many hours you clocked last week. It only measures leverage. If you are under 10, you're in the grind phase. And yes, it feels slow, and yes, it feels invisible, and yes, it feels like nobody notices, because in this phase, nobody does. You are laying foundation. And foundations are underground. Nobody claps for concrete, but everything stands on it. And here is where most men psychologically collapse, because the grind phase attacks your ego. You work hard, but you do not look rich. You invest consistently, but your lifestyle does not change. You feel disciplined, but your status does not shift. And in America, status is visible. Cars, clothes, apartments, trips. And when you're still building, you feel like you are behind. But you're not behind, you're compounding. And compounding is invisible before it's unstoppable. Now, if you're between 10 and 25, you're entering acceleration. And this is where something subtle happens. You stop obsessing over every dollar you save and you start noticing what your capital is doing. You refresh your brokerage account, and instead of seeing trainee fluctuations, you see movement, real movement. This is the moment when money begins to feel alive. And psychologically, this is dangerous in a good way, because confidence shifts. You walk differently. You negotiate differently. You stop tolerating nonsense at work because you know you're not trapped. And people feel that. Women feel that, not because of the money itself, but because of the energy behind it. Scarcity makes a man reactive. Abundance makes him calm. And calm is attractive. When you're broke, your decisions are urgent. When you're building wealth, your decisions are strategic. That difference alone changes how you show up in conversations and relationships, in rooms full of people who are measuring each other silently. Now, if you're over 25, you're closer than you think. And here's what most people do not understand about this stage. The gap between effort and outcome starts to distort reality. You might make $90,000 at work, but your portfolio makes $120,000. And suddenly, the story you've told yourself your entire life about needing permission to live differently starts to collapse. You realize that the machine you built quietly is stronger than the system that pays you. And that realization is explosive. This is the real money explosion. Not the number, the shift, the moment when you understand that your time is becoming yours again, that you are negotiating life instead of surviving it. And let me say something that might hit a nerve. Status in America is rarely about loud wealth. It's about optionality, the ability to leave, the ability to say no, the ability to not chase. When you're financially weak, you chase everything. Opportunities, validation, attention, approval. When you're financially strong, you choose. And choosing is power.
You don't need to flex, you don't need to convince, you don't need to perform. And ironically, that restraint creates more magnetism than any luxury purchase ever could. Because real status isn't noise, it's control. And here's the deeper truth. Money doesn't change you, it reveals you. If you're insecure broke, you'll be insecure rich. But if you're disciplined broke and you stay in the game long enough to compound, wealth amplifies your stability. And stability in a chaotic world is rare. Rare is attractive, rare is respected, rare gets listened to. Now zoom out. Most people quit right before acceleration. They quit at 8, they quit at 9, they quit at 12 because they're tired, because they're bored, because the dopamine of quick results is missing. But wealth is not built on excitement, it's built on endurance. And endurance is not sexy until it pays. Then suddenly it looks genius, and people will call you lucky. They'll say you were early, they'll say you had advantages. They won't see the decade where nothing seemed to move. And that's fine, because this was never about applause, it was about freedom. The math is not complicated, the discipline is. And the only real question that matters is this: will you stay in the game long enough for compounding to outrun effort? Long enough for your portfolio to outgrow your paycheck, long enough for your presence in a room to feel different because you're not there to extract, you're there by choice. The explosion is not a surprise event, it's a delayed consequence, and delays break weak conviction. So don't focus on the explosion, focus on staying. Stay invested, stay learning, stay emotionally stable, stay dangerous in your patience. Because time rewards the consistent, and when acceleration finally hits, it won't feel loud, it will feel inevitable. And inevitability is the ultimate flex. The math is on your side, the curve is real, the tipping points are predictable. The only variable left is you. Will you stay in the game long enough for your money to work harder than you ever did?
Right now, we are in a transfer window. Fear is high, uncertainty is loud. Narratives about collapse are trending, but underneath that noise, assets are compounding. Companies are increasing efficiency. Margins are expanding. Technology is accelerating, and equity holders benefit. The middle class is not doomed, but the passive middle class is under pressure. The adaptive middle class will rise, and the dividing line will be ownership, not job title, not education prestige, ownership. If you depend entirely on a paycheck, you are exposed. If you own productive assets, you are positioned. The question is not whether AI will reshape America, it already is. The question is whether you will stand on the wage side of that shift, or the ownership side. Because most people panic during transitions, and transitions are where wealth is built. Build quietly, accumulate aggressively. Stay adaptable and let exponential systems amplify you. Invest like a rock star. Peace.